Now, vote 2024, a 6-1 ruling by the Florida Supreme Court yesterday has paved the way for a 6-week abortion ban to go into effect next month.
The court also voted 4-3 to let voters decide if the state should provide a constitutional right to abortion. You'll see that issue on your ballot this November. We're also taking a closer look at the recreational marijuana amendment to be on the ballot. We begin our coverage with News4Jax reporter Ann Maxwell, who has reaction to the new strict abortion ban.
It's a decision with far-reaching consequences, a ruling by the Florida Supreme Court to uphold a 2022 law restricting abortions after 15 weeks. The ruling will also allow a newer law restricting abortions after 6 weeks to go into effect next month. Dr. Chelsea Daniels is an abortion provider at Planned Parenthood in the Miami area, preparing for the tighter restrictions implementation on May 1st.
6 weeks is so early that most people don't know they're pregnant. And those that do are going to be scrambling to get a slot.
Once a 6-week abortion ban goes into effect here, the closest state where Floridians could go for an abortion up to 12 weeks is North Carolina. For abortions later than that, people could travel to Virginia. But Dr. Daniels says that isn't an option for everyone.
It places a huge burden on patients. And so I'm concerned for these patients, particularly patients who are the most marginalized, our Black and brown patients, our undocumented patients.
Most people I talked to in Jacksonville today about the issue told me they disagreed with the 6-week rule.
I just feel like it's a woman's choice.
I feel like really women should determine if that should happen.
But not everyone agrees.
People make babies, they should have them and raise them.
The law contains exceptions for rape, incest, human trafficking, fatal fetal abnormalities, and to save the woman's life, or to avoid a serious risk of permanent harm to the woman's body.
It is very difficult as a provider to interpret exactly at what point the law covers the health of the mother. Is it when the health of the mother is at 50% risk, 51% risk? If I make a decision that the law disagrees with me on, am I going to jail? Am I losing my medical license? And so I think what we're seeing is because of this purposefully vague language, providers are being conservative and are turning patients away.
According to state records, more than 84,000 abortions were performed in Florida last year. A little more than 4,200 involved patients from Duval County. The state data also shows 7,700 patients came from out of state for an abortion in Florida. Ann Maxwell, Channel 4, the local station.
So we want to walk you through exactly what will be on your ballot in November when it comes to the right to an abortion. Here is the summary. No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health, as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. A lot of words, so let's break this down. First, no law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion. This means the state legislature would not be able to draft any new laws that would block a woman from an abortion. This also protects women from any type of punishment if she were to have an abortion. Now, the next part, abortion before viability. This means an abortion before the fetus could survive outside the uterus. So typically, a fetus becomes viable around 23 weeks into a pregnancy. So this means in Florida, there couldn't be any law stopping a woman from getting an abortion before the fetus is considered viable. Now, here's an exception to this, or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. That means if a fetus passes that viability mark, but the woman's doctor says she still needs an abortion or she would be at serious risk, she can receive an abortion. Current Florida law already has this exception, allowing abortions at any time during a pregnancy to save the mother's life or avoid permanent harm. And let's look at this part. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. This means this amendment does not interfere with already existing laws that require parental notification before a teen can get an abortion. Now, if you vote yes to this amendment, you are supporting a state constitutional right to an abortion before fetal viability. If you vote no, you're opposing the amendment. By the way, 60% have to say yes for that amendment to be approved.
That November ballot referendum on abortion rights could wind up influencing the presidential race. Many political pros are speculating that abortion will now be a Florida issue that will drive more voters to the polls come November, with our 30 electoral votes at stake. News4JAX reporter Scott Johnson has been sampling the views of voters and experts and is joining us with what they're saying. Scott?
Well, Tom, now that there will be a ballot measure in November on whether women should have a right to an abortion, the issue becomes real, something you're actually voting on directly, and that could impact the other things on the ballot, including the presidential election. Earlier, I went out to talk to voters and came across Michelle Williams, who told me her top issues in November are the economy and immigration, which reflects a lot of polling. But when I mentioned abortion to her, she immediately said that's important too.
Abortion is not a black or white issue. It's a lot of layers to the abortion issue. So I would have to say yes. It's important.
In Williams' opinion, abortion will drive people who follow politics, but not necessarily everyone else. Do you think a lot of people will pay attention to that issue when they're figuring out what they want to vote for?
I think people who are normally sincere about voting will. The people who always stand on the fence won't, but the people who normally get into voting and issues and what's important, they will.
That'll drive them.
Yes.
Dr. Michael Binder at UNF runs the school's polling lab and says a lot could happen between now and November on the issue.
Getting to 60% is a high bar. And even though we polled on this back in the fall and it was over 60%, it was at 62%, we're a long way from 60% in November, particularly if there's a campaign that's running to oppose this.
But as far as other races, like the race for president, Binder doesn't suspect a debate over abortion will change that. Do you see this making Florida purple again?
No.
You don't?
Look, is there a district that's exceptionally competitive that this might swing? Potentially, maybe. But does this put Biden in play for winning Florida in November? No. Does this put Rick Scott in danger of losing his Senate seat? No. We're not quite Alabama yet, but we're close.
And Binder says expect to start seeing a massive amount of political ads over abortion this summer. In fact, just this morning, right after this ruling, the Biden-Harris campaign already put out a commercial on the abortion issue, airing it nationwide in battleground states, including Florida. Joy?
Scott, thanks.